Hello, everyone. I hope you've been enjoying what we have been providing for you this past weekend. It's been brilliant so far. You've been raising lots of money for Calm, and hopefully we can hit our target before the end of this evening. Right now, I am joined by two sisters who are both doctors. They are Dr. Christy Sumner and Dr. Jenny Sumner. Welcome to Soul Sisters Paranormal.
Hi, Dennis. Thank you for having us today.
Hi, Dennis.
Thank you for joining me. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Are you staying safe over there?
We are. We have been able to get some investigations in and everything like that, but we're staying pretty safe.
Yeah. We're just excited that 2020 is over and ready to punch into 2021, and hopefully it's going to be a better year for everybody.
Brilliant. Fingers crossed for that.
Absolutely.
For anyone that doesn't know, can you give us a brief description of how Soul Sisters came about?
Sure, absolutely. So we actually started in 2013, and it essentially started as a girls' trip. We had the opportunity to meet up as sisters and friends at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, West Virginia, which is one of the most haunted locations in the country. And we had a family friend that sat on the board, and he said, "Why don't y'all come up and investigate and stay the night at the prison?" And so we jumped at that opportunity, and we had such a compelling amount of evidence after that investigation that we decided to formally form Soul Sisters Paranormal. So the original team was myself and Jenny, and then our younger sister, and then two female family friends. So we're an all-female team. And then actually this past year in 2020, we went to a two investigator format with just Jenny and myself. The other team members will join on as guests when they can, but the official team is now just twin sisters under Soul Sisters Paranormal.
Oh, wicked. So, what's it like working with your sister?
It's fun.
It's fun. You know?
we have a really good time. It's certainly an interesting field. Christy and I obviously share a very unique bond. And so just growing up together and developing together and going to school together and those types of things, it's such a natural fit for us. So we're very used to working with one another, and this is just another unique thing that we've been doing, a unique experience that we've had, something totally different. So working with Christy is phenomenal. We have a really good time doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing about this is, who controls the radio on the road trips.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest quarrel we get into.
Yeah. And arguing about who's better looking, but we'll save that for another day.
Do you also have a bond as well? I remember talking to you before, Christy. Was it the twin sisters?
We are. We're twin sisters.
And if something happens to one, you know yourself. As soon as it happens.
We absolutely, there is that twin connection that people speak about. There's one instance in high school where I was actually coming home. It was later at night. I was coming home from an event, and Jenny at the same time just started getting up and getting dressed. And my mom was like, "What are you doing?" And Jenny said, "I think Christy's going to be in a car accident." And lo and behold, I was in a car accident that night. And this was before the age of cell phones and such. So by the time I had found a payphone and gotten in touch with my parents, Jenny was actually already on the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll also add to that, another unique experience that we've had is that just kind of top of mind for me is that we had gotten up, and this is when we were living in different parts of the country, actually. And so I was just chatting with Christy on the phone, and she was talking about this really weird dream that she had had. And I'm like, "What happened in that dream?" And so she started telling me about the events that happened in her dream. And then in my dream was the conclusion of that story. So she had done the first half, if you will, of the event of the story. And then what was happening in my dreams was the latter half of that story. So you put it together, and it was kind of a full-blown, episode. So, just some of those different things. It's really unique. It's different. Being a twin is definitely fun.
And I think that helps us on paranormal investigations as well. We do have that connection where we can just kind of look at each other, or, we can agree on similar styles of an aspect of an investigation and stuff like that. So I think it does add that unique factor. Not a lot of paranormal teams get to experience that bond with their team member.
Mm-hmm.
That's wicked. That is. Does you, with your other sister as well, do you ever have as well thinking the same thing or similar across the lines?
Every now and then, she's younger than us by 7 years, so she's definitely the baby, and she is spoiled. She'll absolutely tell you that she's spoiled, that we spoil her. So we do have that connection with her, but I think the thing that Jenny and I have is just one of those unique aspects of being a twin. I have a friend that calls us we're womb mates to start with, and so that's pretty much how we've lived our lives. We've always been very close, so we started there and we've been going ever since.
Yeah. And just to follow up on that question too, Dennis, we've been very blessed to have a very close family. So we're tight with all of our siblings. We support each other in everything that we do. Our family structure, our parents and our family structure is very important to us. So I think that has given us a really good foundation and also a framing. So anytime we get ourselves into the different and unique experiences, we have their full support. So that's always a blessing for us, for sure. That's
brilliant to hear. Now, you also work with different groups, don't you? One being, is it Ghost Biker?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes, she was just on before us.
What's it like working with Miranda?
It's fascinating. Miranda has a very unique style, such as we do. Very history driven, very much looking for to advance a historical narrative of these locations, and then bringing in the paranormal secondary. So while we all had that focus of finding paranormal activity and paranormal evidence, we both of our teams subscribe to the fact that the history and the preservation of those historical locations come first and foremost. So we actually approached Miranda because we were so fascinated with her style and what she does. So we approached her and actually became very, very good friends with her. So we really appreciate what she does. And so working with her, it's almost a natural fit, because we do have that same style. Obviously, her investigation style and her episodes are a little bit unique, but to be able to collaborate with her has been a great experience for us.
And I think just to build on top of that, Christy, I think another point to that too is doing these different collaborations with these different groups. It allows us to see how they're doing things in their, to use Christy's word, in their own style, the uniquenesses that they bring to the field and to the investigations and to the research that they're doing as well. So for instance, Miranda, she uses heavily her dowsing rods. And so that's just not a tool that we use. So to see her using her dowsing rods and for her to get the reactions that she does from those dowsing rods, it's really fascinating to see, like I said, because that's not a tool that we use in our investigations, but it's fun to see what other people are doing and how they're using different tools to do their own investigations.
Hey, Karen.
Hey, sorry.
Hey.
Dennis's connection dropped out, so I just jumped on, and just in case he couldn't get his connection back up. So you weren't just talking to yourselves and the audience.
That's okay.
There we go.
It was seamless, now. Karen. It was seamless.
That was seamless. Yeah. That's the proper admin right there, Karen.
Always the professional, ladies. Always the professional.
Always the professional. Good job.
Bye.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
If it's not my kids, it's the internet connection at my mum's. Can't win.
No worries. We have a question from Donald here. And Donald, thank you so much for watching. We actually have an older brother and a younger sister. And Michelle was more into the paranormal than Joel is. Joel's a law enforcement officer, so he comes from a very criminal justice background and mindset. So when we first started with this, he was a little skeptical of what we do, but now he is one of our biggest fans. As to Jenny's point earlier, our family is extremely supportive of what we do. And, he's always sharing our stuff, watching our investigations, and now he's really subscribing to what we do.
Have you, before you was going to do investigations just for yourselves, like picking locations and just going there just as a team, like to investigate? But have you had any like ones where it's been personal, where someone's asked for help, you've had to go see them?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So we do what I consider two types of investigations. The first one are those commercial locations like West Virginia State Penitentiary or Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, the Lizzie Borden House. Those are the investigations that we really build our portfolio. But we do have private residential and business investigations where individuals will call us and ask us to come in and investigate their houses or their business. So yes, we've done those on several occasions, and it's really a unique opportunity for us because, you know, it's humbling that people will call us for our investigation skills, but to be able to offer help to people who perceive that something is going on in their house is something that we really enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We got a question here from Rosemary Goyen. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Ladies, have you ever helped the police with their investigations?
Well, so we come from a very unique experience because we both hold masters in criminal justice. We hold doctorate degrees. Christy is her specialty is in biometrics for security. Mine is in public administration and information for law enforcement. So we have dealt very heavily through our education and just some other opportunities. We've dealt very heavily with law enforcement, and we fully support and are fans of law enforcement and our military as well. But we've never, from a paranormal perspective, have involved ourselves in any type of investigation.
Okay, cool. Let's have a look here. Everyone's wondering why I've turned into Karen.
Well, if I could jump into Libby's question there, which I love, the Mall Barker house. We had a really unique experience at the Mall Barker house, and I know that Libby had asked that question to Miranda, but it's a unique location, and so that was a fun one for us to investigate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Mall Barker house, like Jenny said, is unique because this was a house. It's a very nondescript house and located in a rural area of Central Florida, a little town called Ocklawaha. And in 1935, J. Edgar Hoover, who was head of the Bureau of Investigation at that point, he was had this nationwide manhunt to track down the Barker Carpus gang. And Mom Barker was the matriarch, and she had 3 sons in that gang with her. Well, she had 4 sons, but at that point she had 3 sons in the gang with her. And so the gang in 1935, because of that law enforcement presence, decided to split up. So Ma Barker and her son Fred went to they rented this house in Ocklawaha, Florida. And on January 16th, 1935, J. Edgar Hoover and some of his investigators called the Flying Squad, they tracked Ma and Fred to this location, and a shootout ensued on the morning of January 16th. And it is still to date the longest shootout in FBI history. And in the culmination of that was that Ma and Fred were killed in this house. And so after that all died down, the family maintained the house as it was during that day. So you can walk in, you can see the bullet holes, you can see the bullet holes in the wall and the furniture. They kept all of the same furniture. And then in 2016, they decided to sell the house to Marion County, Florida. Marion County actually moved the house from its original location to another property about 2 miles away. So now it sits vacant by itself on about 40 acres of land. There's no light pollution. There's no noise pollution. It is completely dark when you go in there at night. So we actually asked Marion County if we could be the first team to investigate that location, and they graciously allowed us to do so. And so we actually did a 2-part investigation. The first part was on the anniversary of the shootout. So on January 15th, we put cameras in the location, and we wanted to leave them run stationary through the night to encompass the morning of January 16th. That would have been the anniversary of the shootout. So we left all of that equipment there, and we left the house. Nobody was in the house. We had complete control of it, but there were no actually living beings in the house during the time. And so when we went back and reviewed our evidence, we found that we had captured footsteps, door slams, what we perceive as chairs being moved across the floor. We had a male's voice saying, "Get out." And then in the room where what we call the kill room, where the bodies of Ma and Fred were found, the voice recorder picked up 2 EVPs. The first one said, "Freddie." The second one said, "Yeah, Ma," and the first one said, "Get ready." So we feel that was a residual haunting that we were able to capture. And then after that, we went back about 2 weeks later, and we stayed in the house for several hours. And at that point, we were also capturing EVPs. We were capturing amazing responses on our spirit box that were very germane to the location and germane to what happened in 1935. So for us, it was one of the very unique investigations that we've been able to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you the only team that's investigated there, or other teams allowed to go?
Formally, we've been the only team to investigate there because the house is it's not in a secure location at this time. It has no power. It has no water. They're very selective on who they allow to go in there. But because we are local to the area, in fact, our grandparents lived about 5 miles from the location, and we were able to have that to show that historical perspective. They allowed us to go in there. I do believe at some point they will allow other teams to go in there and investigate, but formally we've been the one of the only teams to go in.
They can call it the Soul Sister House then for a bit, can't they?
Yeah. And here again, I think it's a powerful story, not only just for the evidence that we got, but to Christy's point, it's a remote location. There is no power to the location at all. There's no light pollution. There's no environmental pollution in terms of the ambient noise or anything like that that's going on in or around the location. So to get the evidence that we got, and one of the things that we do when we go into investigations is we go with our own ability to power all of our equipment as needed. So we don't rely or need to rely on any power. So we were unique in that aspect. And to get the evidence that we did in that location, I think really underscores the point of something different is going on in that location. Mm-hmm.
And if anyone wants to check any of this evidence out that you posted online, where can they find you?
Our website is www.soulsistersparanormal.com, and then we are active on Facebook. We are active on Instagram as well, all under Soul Sisters Paranormal.
Awesome. Do either of you have a favourite gadget that you like to use?
For me personally, I think that we are the best gadgets. We go in with that mindset of actually trying to tell the narrative of the entities that we're speaking with. But then after that, electronically, I really like our voice recorders. For us, we've been very fortunate to get some amazing EVPs in these locations that we've investigated. And I think that also comes down to the fact that we actually sit and listen to everything that we put out. When we put out 10 voice recorders or 10 night vision video cameras, we sit and listen to all of that footage. We watch all of that footage. And I think that allows us to actually hear some things that we've been fortunate enough to capture. So for me, it's the voice recorder.
And I would say for me, Dennis, it's the REM pod. I love that piece of equipment. I like the auditory nature of it. I like the visual nature of it. I like the fact that it could be sitting there and it go off, and it really is thrilling when it starts to go off in direct responses to something that you're asking it. So to me, just the fact that it's got that auditory piece, that visual piece in the moment. So that makes it my favorite piece of equipment for sure, the REM pod.
Ricky, have you thought about like going live and doing each investigation you go to live?
We've thought about it. We haven't done it yet. I know that there's other teams that do that. I know Miranda's very big on going lives as well. It's just one of those things that was never really in our repertoire or our style. I would like to do that, start doing that at some point. We just haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm. And Dennis, the interesting thing I think about doing investigations and kind of revealing behind the scenes that's different than what you may see on entertainment media and those different shows is the fact that a lot of it is you sit and you wait and it's quiet. There's not a lot of flash bam wow that happens. You get a great flashlight session. It could be 20 minutes long and then it's over, or you get a great REM pod session, could be 10 minutes long and then it's over. And the bulk of the time that you spend, especially the length of the investigations that we do, 8 hours, 12 hours. It's a lot of sitting and listening to the house, listening to the location, being in the moment, and just being quiet. To Chrissy's point, just kind of being in that moment and listening. So if we did a live, I think that we would certainly have to put that disclaimer out there. A lot of it is it's just being quiet with us, being and listening with us in the moment. So I think that would be another unique aspect if we did a live.
Yeah, you could. So I know some people go live and they ask people who are watching it live to take screenshots to see if they can capture anything. And to be fair, some of it is they do catch some good evidence, which people do miss out on. So, but yeah, sometimes the live you go watch the scammers and stuff as well. So
yeah, and for us, we go into it with a very research-minded aspect, and when you have the phone on, and we do think that it does have the ability to maybe manipulate or interfere with some of the equipment that we use. So that's really been another reason why we haven't done that. And back to the point that I made earlier, we sit and listen and watch all of the footage that we capture, and that's really the style that we've created for ourselves. So that's really one of the reasons why we just haven't done a live. I mean, not that we're opposed to it per se, but taking those things into account, we just haven't done it.
Yeah, well, like I say, what you're doing, just a 2-girl team, aren't you? And the work you put in is brilliant. So keep cracking on.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And that's another unique aspect of what we do is, because we are an all-female team, when we catch a male's voice or we capture a child's voice, it's very easy for us to say that's not us. This is legitimate things that we cannot explain. For example, I know Donald's on here, and we were very fortunate enough to investigate at the old Attila County Jail and the Southern Funeral Home last year, and we just released the Attila County Jail video. And one of the EVPs that we captured on there was, to us, one of our best EVPs. And we're the two of us, you see us sitting in one of the cells, and we're asking questions. And the voice recorder that picked up the responses was in a cell 5 or 6 cells down. So we were asking questions, and for example, I asked the question, "Who's your best friend?" And that voice recorder very clearly picked up a male saying Peter, or Pete. It said Pete. And for us, you can very quickly rule out that it's not one of us. So the fact that we are very limited in our team members, just 2 of us, it allows us to put out some very interesting evidence. That's
awesome. Have any of you on your investigations been touched or scratched?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Not so much scratch. I mean, I haven't personally been scratched, but definitely touched. Pant leg tugged, hair, I've got ponytail, kind of hair brushed a little bit, kind of, rubbing up and down the arm type of a feel. That's been the extent of the touching. I've never been scratched before though.
When we go into these locations, we really set forth boundaries with any entity that may be in that location. So we'll go in and we'll say a prayer of protection before we go in, but we also state to any entity that's there that, these are our boundaries. If we allow you to touch us, if we say you can touch us, you can do that. But you're not allowed to harm us. You're not allowed to attach to us or leave with us. So we feel that has been one of the things that's kind of protected us in a way, because we'll freely say, if you're in this room, pull my pant leg or touch my shoulder or touch my hand. And we've had those responses. But as far as anything being scratched or negative, that's something that we haven't really experienced, because we don't go in and look for that. We don't go in with provoking. We don't go in with bravado. And, for us, I think that we've been very fortunate not to experience. Now, we've experienced things that I would consider darker, like when you go into jails or prisons, but not so much a negative entity, if you will.
Oh, cool. Have you got any future events planned? I think you had one is it this month, or have you just been?
Yes, last night we were at the May Stringer House in Brooksville, Florida. It was a very interesting investigation, a beautiful house, amazing history, and so obviously we have a ton of evidence to review yet. But it was a very unique experience, and so that was one that we thoroughly enjoyed. And then in February, middle of February, we'll be heading out to Texas to the Old Nazareth Hospital in Mineral Wells, and we'll be stopping at different points along the way. We'll be stopping at the Myrtles Plantation. We'll be stopping in New Orleans and just doing some video and getting some mini investigations on those locations. And then we actually hope to get over to Europe as well. So we'll be over in the UK in September and hopefully get some investigations under our belt over there as well.
What's going on in September?
Well, a friend of ours was asked to speak at this really cool Festival of the Unexplained event in September. So we'll be going over there in support of her.
That's cool. Yeah, I think I know her.
Okay, good. I think you've heard of it.
If anyone's got any questions, like put them in the chat and I can ask them. It's no problem. Donald has asked, has anything ever followed you home?
Not to our knowledge, no. Again, we've done what we feel is a pretty good job of setting those boundaries. When we leave a location, we say you must stay here. You're not allowed to follow us, and then we'll say that prayer of protection one more time. And to my knowledge, nothing has followed us home.
Nope.
Just seems something behind you. Have you got a favourite location? I know you mentioned my house recently. Is there any other location that's one of your favourites?
That's an interesting question for us because all of the locations that we've gone to have been so incredibly historic and so incredibly active that all of them have a unique place in what we do. So for me, I think the most historic place I would say on that list has been Fort Mifflin in Philadelphia. That was a fort that was built during the Revolutionary War, and to go in and have that very tactile experience with the past and the history. That's really what we enjoy. So Fort Mifflin, historically speaking, has been my favorite, and we actually were able to capture some great evidence there, great EVPs. We captured a shadow figure on a stationary camera there as well. And that was our first time doing that. And then for paranormal activity, I would say the best location has been the old Gilchrist County Jail in Trenton, Florida. And that it's a very small prison, or very small jail. I think it only had 8 cells. It was 2 stories, but the investigations that we've done there have been so active that every piece of equipment has validated every other piece of equipment when we've gone in there. The first time I investigated, it was with Miranda from Ghost Biker, and that it was she and I were the only 2 people on the property. And we had the obelisk saying words that we were confirming on the REM pod. We had the SLS camera confirming the EVPs that we were capturing. So to have that investigation that where everything was confirming everything else was extremely validating for us.
Yeah, and I'll add to what Christy is saying in the terms of just the unique aspect of every location that we've been to. We kind of said, oh, that was the best one we've been at, and then we'll go to the next one. Oh, that was the best one we've been at, and then we'll go to the next one. But each place has its own unique feel, its own unique history. I would say for me, I really like the St. Augustine Lighthouse just because of the unique nature of the structure itself. You've got this long cylindrical tower, and there's only one access point into that tower, and it's the door, right? That front door. And then so anything you capture, that the chances of it being something that is affecting the equipment or ambient noise or ambient light or something like that is low. And so I really like the feel of the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and it's just a really unique place to investigate. I would also say that I liked Malvern Manor, which was in Iowa. And it was just one of these kind of off the wall places that we happened to stumble upon. It wasn't on our itinerary to investigate, but that location, the Malvern Manor, it had gone through so many different iterations of what it was used for: a hotel, a hospital, a home for dementia patients, those types of things. And the evidence that we got in that location, I thought was phenomenal. It just seemed like it was so just real and authentic, the evidence that we got out of that location. So that one sticks out in my mind.
My list has grown to places to visit.
You should. It is actually a very unique opportunity to get into that location.
Janet had asked, question's gone. Janet
Hey,
has
Janet.
asked, any bucket list places you want to visit in the future? to investigate.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I'm actually looking forward to getting out to the Myrtles Plantation in February. So that has been a bucket list item that we'll be able to check off here in about a month. The Queen Mary is also on my list, as well as Leap Castle in Ireland. If I could pick one location where I would like to go and spend the night and get some investigations, I'd have to say Leap Castle.
Yeah, I think international travel would certainly be on the bucket list of things to do, just to take our expertise that we've gathered here in the work that we've done in the States and apply those to other locations across the globe. I think would be fascinating, a wonderful opportunity for sure.
Wicked. Libby's asked, how about Savannah, Georgia? I would suspect a lot of dark history there.
Mm-hmm. There is. We have not gone and investigated as paranormal investigators. We have spent a lot of time in Savannah, and just the history of that location is just really second to none in the country. You know, you've got everything from jails and hospitals and sanatoriums to homes, historic homes and streets. So it's just a great place to visit. We've taken several girls' trips there, but as paranormal investigators, we have not gone to that location yet.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Donald has said Sorrel, Weed, and Moon River are good spots.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, in Savannah, those would be awesome to get to. Absolutely. I've been to Moon River, again, not as paranormal investigator, but just to say I've been there.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to do a lot of travel personally and professionally in the jobs that we do outside of paranormal, and so just thinking about the places that we have traveled to, and then now getting into the paranormal field, we think back, oh man, you know, we should go back and visit that place. Stratford-on-Avon was one of them. I heard that mentioned earlier in one of the previous interviews. We've been there. We loved it. It was gorgeous. And to be able to go there with the eye of a paranormal investigator would be fantastic.
That's ace. Right. Eddie has asked, unusual scenario, if the world was coming to an end and you had to choose one last location anywhere in the world, where would you go?
I'm still going to stick with Leap Castle. If that's the one location where we have to do an investigation, our last one, say our big hurrah, I'd still go there, I think.
I would have to say we've been trying to get on the Yorktown, which is a military aircraft carrier that has since retired and it's now docked in, where's it docked? Charleston, South Carolina, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And so to get on that, I think would be a really unique perspective, and be able to tell again the story of the military and the service that ship performed, the service that those that were on that ship performed. I think that would be the final location that I would like to investigate. Fascinating question, Eddie.
Thanks.
Eddie. Thanks, Eddie. You've done something good. Ladies, before we started the interview, we had a chat about Calm, which is what we're trying to raise money for. Mm-hmm. It's all for a good cause. It's close to some of the team's heart. You did mention you might do something for us, if that's all right to mention.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You know, if I know that there's several prize packs that you can bid on, so we'll be donating some Soul Sisters merchandise to that, hats and a couple T-shirts and such. And so, to your point, Dennis, it is a cause that we are very deeply, unfortunately, associated with. You know, we are a very close-knit family, as Jenny said. And so we never thought that suicide would touch us. We never thought that we would be speaking on behalf of suicide or sorts of suicide prevention. Our nephew, in 2019, he did make that decision to end his life at the age of 23. And again, it was something that for us, we never saw any warning signs. So to be able to be associated with an organization like Calm and the Festival Unexplained to actually donate money to that is a very important cause to us for sure. Mm-hmm.
We appreciate that for the donation. Thank you very much and for being a part. If anyone wants to bid on any of that, there's 6 snowflakes which you can bid on. There should be a post somewhere in the link where you can actually bid on each snowflake. I'm not sure at the moment the price of each one at the moment, but if you want to bid and be a chance to win one of these prizes, they're beyond numbers 1 to 6, then bid on it, and then you never know, you might be able to wear some Soul Sister merch. You might know.
Yes.
And if you don't win it, you can absolutely support Soul Sisters by maybe purchasing a T-shirt or purchasing a hat or a sticker. You can do that on our website. That was a shameless plug, sorry, but
I was going to lead to that, but you're doing it perfectly.
Okay, thanks.
Jess has said she'd love to go to the Queen Mary as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, that's, we have, when we go to Texas, that'll be the furthest west we've been as paranormal investigators. But to get out to California, we've got several things on our bucket list out there. There's a couple places that we want to visit in Pasadena, the Queen Mary. We want to get out to the Winchester Mystery House as well. And just really, we want to do a complete tour really of that state. So hopefully when everything kind of lifts here, we'll get that opportunity either the end of this year or the beginning of next.
All right. Let's have a look. If anyone else got any other questions? Because I think I've answered all. Asked all mine.
Come on, Dennis. You've got us a little bit longer. You got some questions in there.
I think so. The snowflakes at the top of the page. Someone said. So I get bid on them snowflakes. It's all for a good cause. What's the other one? I've gone brain dead now. With your personal investigations and all that, do you obviously sometimes you don't share them on your website? You keep that personal to the family, and you don't charge either, do you? You just do it if you're asked. You do it free, no charge towards. Make sure that them helped out the best they can.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything that we do residential or business oriented where somebody calls us in, we will not release that information unless they give us permission to do so. And like I said, we've been very fortunate that people, and humbled that people will put their faith in us to actually go to these locations to investigate, because they'll call us or email us and say that they'll start out with, "Don't think I'm crazy," and we don't. We honestly believe that they believe that something is going on. So if we can go in and give them some peace of mind that, hey, this is environmental rather than paranormal, or you do have something paranormal going on here, and this is how you can either live with it or mitigate it, or, in some cases remove it. So we offer those suggestions as well. But, we have gone in and found, explainable evidence or explainable things, debunking, if you will. We had a gentleman call us and say, "Hey, I think my business is haunted. Can you come in and take a look?" And we did a full investigation. And what we discovered was his storefront it was all glass storefront, and he had mirrors along the side of the wall. So at night, when car headlights would pass that light in front of his store, they would bounce off the mirrors and essentially blind his night vision video camera and turn them off. So what he perceived was paranormal was actually extremely environmental. So we said either remove the mirrors or take the night vision video cameras and change their angle. So that's the type of stuff, the services that we offer. And to your point, yes, they're free of charge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're like most groups are. We're supported, self-funded. And what we do it because we love it. We like the history of the places. We like the camaraderie, the opportunity to travel together. We have our professional lives outside of, what we do in the paranormal space. So it's an opportunity for us to do something completely different than what we're associated with now, from a professional standpoint, and to use our expertise as researchers to possibly, maybe even in a small way, affect the paranormal field and bring some awareness in terms of some investigative pieces and some research pieces. That's really an aim of ours as well.
Sweet. Libby has asked, how about Williamsburg, VA? Yes,
Williamsburg is gorgeous. It's very historic. We've been there on several occasions. Not so much to do an actual paranormal investigation. We've had historical talks there. We've done historical walks as well. But Williamsburg is and I'll just remind Christy, I don't know if she remembers or not, but when we went to Williamsburg, that I know that there was a conversation in an earlier session that you had about 35 millimeter films. So we actually had cameras in that regard, not digital, and we got some really cool evidence on that film, the orbs and those types of things. And we had done that. I mean, that was years ago, before we even thought about anything paranormal. But Williamsburg is fantastic. It's a beautiful location.
We've heard a lot about Gettysburg as well. Is that somewhere you've been or want to go to?
Yes, Gettysburg is fantastic. We've been there on numerous occasions, and just to be on those battlefields and to know the history behind it, you can actually feel the energy that's there, whether or not you're a paranormal investigator or not. Just to go for the historical aspect, we've been very fortunate to investigate there. We've actually stayed at the Farnsworth Inn, which is one of the most haunted bed and breakfasts in the country. We've stayed there on several occasions and have very compelling pieces of evidence from those locations. And again, to be able to be there, and that's another location where you see the bullet holes in the wall, and you know the history behind it. So Gettysburg, absolutely. If you've never been, you need to go. That needs to be on everybody's bucket list to go, because it is very historic as well as very haunted.
And that kind of segues into Jane's question there that I see. Have we stayed in any haunted hotels in America? We have, the Farnsworth being one of them. The Menger Hotel in Texas is another good one. We've stayed in a bunch of hotels that claim to be haunted. We like the bed and breakfast type establishments. Whenever we travel, we try to frequent maybe some off-road or off-known type locations like bed and breakfast and those types of things. So we've been fortunate to do that.
But one of the most unique hotels that we've stayed at, Jane, is the Grand Old Lady Hotel in Sylvan, North Carolina. And this hotel was built in 1905. It was built for the railroad line. So the railroad came through and they built this grand hotel. It's 3 stories. Initially, it had 100 guest rooms. That has since been reduced to 50 as the rooms have been combined. So this was actually a collaboration with Ghost Biker Explorations. We were there in May of last year, and it was just the 3 of us. So Miranda, Jenny, and I in this hotel for the entire weekend. And Miranda did her investigation on Friday night. Jenny and I did our investigation on Saturday night. And that place is absolutely amazing. It is probably one of our best locations now in terms of history as well as paranormal evidence. So for example, there's a hallway in the hotel there called Henry's Hall. And we were getting knocks and bangs and noises and footsteps and EVPs, loud, large EVPs. That's another location where our equipment was validating itself. So while we were capturing stick figures on the SLS camera and asking them to reach over and touch the EDI box, you could see the stick figure on the SLS camera actually reach over and touch the EDI box, and the EDI box starts lighting up with a pressure and a temperature change. And then one of the most compelling pieces of evidence was an EVP that we captured. This was on Saturday night. So Miranda, Jenny, and I decided to stay in one of the suites that was on the corner adjacent to Henry's Hall. So it's actually divided up into 2 rooms in this one suite. So Miranda had the outer room, Jenny and I were in the inner room, and you hear us on the voice recorder, you hear us saying our goodnights, and about 15 minutes later, a male's voice outside the door says, "Please don't go." It's extremely loud. We all heard it in the moment. Our voice recorders all picked it up. So I would highly recommend the Grand Old Lady in Sylvan, North Carolina.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think that kind of answered Janet's question that I just saw fly by in terms of the most compelling piece of evidence. That the Grand Old Lady produced a lot of good evidence for us. And I say that we've been fortunate enough to get some good evidence from many of the locations that we've been to. Here again, back to one of the locations I like, it's the St. Augustine Lighthouse. I feel that we got some really interesting pieces of evidence there. So I would say that's probably the most compelling for me.
I would say my most compelling piece is the shadow figure that we captured at Fort Mifflin. We had a stationary night vision camera along with a laser grid set up in casemate number 11, which is a subterranean casemate that they used for a solitary confinement cell. So during the night, when we were on the other side of the fort, you can see a shadow figure cross in front of the camera, and it cuts off all the beams of the laser as it walks across this room. So I'd say that was probably one of our most compelling pieces of evidence.
Nice. Is if the moderator's in the room, can you please block Eddie, because he's not the stuff he's putting is inappropriate, and I'm trying to be professional here.
Dennis, you can absolutely become an honorary soul sister.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go, Eddie.
We're gonna get you a badge and everything.
Yeah.
Have that, Eddie. Right, Jess has asked, do you ladies use any kits, and what's your views on them? I think she means what?
Any kit?
Yeah, your views on your kit, any kit you use.
Well, we have different pieces of equipment that we use. As I said before, we have night vision video cameras, we have voice recorders, we have REM pods, K2 meters, and we're very big on trigger items. So we really research the history of the location, and then we formulate trigger items that are germane to that location. So, for example, one of the most interesting ones that we did was at the West Virginia State Penitentiary, where there was a guy that was he was on death row. He was a murderer. His name was Red Snyder. But he had two vices. His first one was watching the soap opera Days of Our Lives, and the other one was tobacco. So every day while he was in this prison cell, they would wheel a TV in front of his cell, let him watch Days of Our Lives, and then wheel the TV back out. So what we actually did to try to get a response from him is I downloaded an episode of Days of Our Lives onto a laptop. We put it in the cell and let him watch it. And we left him alone with that. And when we came back, we turned everything off and had an amazing EVP and a K2 session as well. So we're very big on trigger items in order to elicit a response, because we feel that, these entities were at one time human. So we want to give them that human experience if we can, in order to connect with them. So that's usually the stuff that we'll take on investigations when we go.
That's nice. When you do investigation, have you ever thought about taking a medium with you?
We have thought about it. We have not done that yet. Again, to us, it's just one of those things that when we go and we book these, we just don't really have that in our thought process to do. Eventually, we probably will at some point take a medium with us just to see if we can get that validation from what we're getting. Probably one of those where either we'll go in first and do our investigation and allow them to go in, or vice versa. Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Just let you know, I might end up going in a minute because signal's going again. I've had the warning. So if I do disappear, Karen will just jump on.
Okay. All right. D-Hoot, thanks for watching. We'll be going to Mineral Wells in Texas, and we'll be investigating at the old Nazareth Hospital in Mineral Wells. We'll be there in February.
Very excited about that trip.
Yes. Yeah. Because that's the trip where we'll be actually stopping at the Myrtles and Louisiana or New Orleans and doing some things along the way.
Nice. Someone from the team has asked, has anyone ever been to Hydesville, Upper New York, where the famous Fox sisters lived?
We have not. I know of that location. We have not been. We've been to New York. We're at Sleepy Hollow, New York, not so much for an investigation, but more of a historical perspective tour, if you will. We've been to New York on several occasions, but we have not been to that location.
And some of the locations that we want to go to and are on our bucket list, it's just sometimes a matter of logistics to get us there. Mm-hmm. We, as I mentioned, we both have professional lives, so trying to coordinate our work schedule with paranormal investigations is something we have to keep in mind. But then also, as Christy mentioned, we take a lot of equipment with us. With the investigation that we just did last night, we're walking in with probably 8 or so boxes, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen this much equipment from any investigative team that's come into this location." So we road trip it. We drive. So because we want to make sure that all of our equipment gets up there, it gets up there intact. So a lot of the time, many of these places, it's just sometimes a logistical navigation in order for us to get there. So we do have a very long bucket list. It's just trying to figure out how to start ticking them off.
So you say you use a lot of prayer to stop anything negative, to follow your arm or attack or anything like that. But have you come across any like cursed lands or cursed buildings where even though you've prayed, you've still had a bit of issue trying to stop people attacking or following?
Not so much, I would say, cursed. We do feel a lot of Native American presence in some of these locations that we go to, specifically Moundsville. Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary is probably another one of those locations where I could say that we would feel a negative or a Native American presence. And I would also say Brushy Mountain is probably the location that comes to mind where we have felt or witnessed what I would call dark energy. Again, not so much negative. I would say dark in the sense that it was just meaner. You could tell that it did not want you to go into its space. And in which case we don't. If we start to feel that, we won't go into that space. So for Brushy Mountain specifically, this was an auditorium up on the second floor. And all we did was at that point, when we felt that, we left the night vision video camera, we left the voice recorder in that room, and basically said, this room is yours. If you want to communicate with us, here are the mechanisms to do that. Otherwise, there are other places here that we'll go and do sessions and all of that. But that's your space. We recognize that. If you want to speak to us, this is how you do it.
And to build on what Chrissy's saying, it's when you go into a location, at least for us and for me personally, you kind of get a sense of a feel about it. Positive, excited, happy, to Christy's words, dark, which I would interpret as sad or heavy, but not so much evil or malicious. That's something that's out to get us. I personally am one that did not subscribe to those types of feelings. I'm sure others have had those experiences. I personally have not. And so when we go into these locations, it's more about just a sense of feeling, and less about getting scratched or attacked or pushed out or anything like that. I guess that's the best way that I would describe it for me.
And I think for us, what we always do when we go to these locations is we go in with what I would consider what personally is the right intention. Mm-hmm. And that's just my term for it. And that intention is we legitimately want to tell the story of any entity that's there. And we'll say that if you watch any of our videos, that's a common phrase throughout. Can we tell your story? We're here to tell your story. We're not there to provoke. We're not there to, elicit any response from a demon or anything negative. That's not what we do. Ouija boards, we don't use those not because we believe in them per se, but because of the negative connotation that really surrounds them. So we don't go in with that perception of looking for anything like that. And I think, to Jenny's point, that's the reason why we've been successful in getting paranormal activity in the locations that we go to, but also where we're not confronted with something that is malicious or demonic.
Yeah, we go in with a lot of empathy and try to have an empathetic ear to the location, to the building or the structure, and then certainly to anything that may be still residing in that structure. So we really try to be empathetic and to listen and to, just share with the audience what we capture. And then the audience is open to interpret that however they wish. We're not going to say that, this is haunting or this is paranormal, but it's something that we certainly can't explain. And so we're going to capture that evidence to the best that we can, put it out there, and let the audience make up their own minds.
I ask about anything negative attached because what it is, most people seem to say the spirits are male. I mean, obviously, we being a female team, maybe like saying, you probably get a bit more evidence because they want to interact more with yourselves.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's true, especially in places like prisons and jails, where that was a male-dominated population. Obviously, when we go in, I do feel that we get a different response because we are an all-female team. And I just think that's, to Jenny's point, the nature of going in with empathy. Not to say that we're empathic per se, but that we have that empathy of, we want to tell your story of what happened here, what happened to you, what was your narrative, can we convey anything for you? So we're always asking, questions like what's your mother's name or what year is it for you and things like that in order to try to tell that story for them. And we don't go in and say, I'm not going to believe you're here unless you throw this chair across the room. That's really not how we approach our investigation. So because of that, to your point, I do think that because we are an all-female team, we do get a different response than a co-ed or all-male team.
And if it came to where you had to send anyone to the light, do you experience enough to say the prayer to send them to the light if that's what they ask for?
No, that's really not what we do, especially in a commercial location. We really don't feel that that's our place because we don't own it. That's not our property. If the owners want to send the entities to the light, that's what they can do. But for us, we have people on standby that we can call to perform those services. Ours is really what we do is to validate these experiences, especially for residential or business owners. We'll validate those experiences and then give them options. For example, you can live with this. if you want, or we can call in a priest or a demonologist to help you with those next steps of removal if you want. But for us, we don't profess to be any type of we don't have that knowledge base to perform that service.
And I would say, Dennis, even if we did, I wouldn't do it, because that's the spirit's choice. So if we all believe that what we're talking to is truly a spirit, the spirit is here for some reason, and the spirit can make his or her own mind up on where and how they want to go. So I don't feel that it would be my place, and this is me personally speaking, but I don't feel that it would be my place to, usher somebody into a light or to direct them or anything like that. They probably have been here longer than I have. So I don't feel that would, personally speaking, be my position.
That's what we like to see, a bit of respect, because some people, as you know, don't have respect and they just want to cause any animosity to get started, to roll up the energy, to cause havoc. Some people do. So yeah, that's what we need in this field, with more respect. But one final question I've got is: are you open to working with any other teams or individuals?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and that's how you learn and grow in this field. When we started this, we never really thought that it would grow into what it has. And so we absolutely have teams in the field that we respect and would love to investigate to learn and grow from those teams. Absolutely.
That's wicked. Right, we're coming to an end now, unfortunately. If there's anything else you want to plug before we go?
Not really. We just want to say thank you so much for the time and for this amazing cause, for putting this festival on. If anybody wants to know more about Soul Sisters, again, our website is www.soulsistersparanormal.com. We're also active on Facebook and on Instagram as well. Wicked.
And don't forget to get bidding on them snowflakes, because one of them snowflakes could be Soul Sisters, some merch from them. Just thank you very much for joining me and putting up with the little bugs that I've had here and there, and a bit of abuse I've had off Mr. Fry. But yeah, I've enjoyed
Dennis,
talking
it was
to you
a pleasure.
too.
Thank you, Dennis. It was great talking to you, and thank you everybody for the comments and for watching. We really do appreciate all of the support we've been given. So thank you everybody for tuning in.
Thanks everyone. And up next we've got, is it the Haunted team next? I think that's what they said. Yep, the Haunted team are up next. So please join us, and we'll see you then. Thanks
everybody. Have a great day.